Our students are more collaged as individuals than the mosaic walls of this building you are in. They are a culmination of a million parts, each as complicated as a cell,
as beautiful as a gold tile from Venice,
as unique as a star.
And
all together we form an organism, a stunning mosaic,
an expansive universe.
We form our community. Our students are varsity sports players,
leads in theater productions,
backstage crew,
gardeners,
backpackers,
beekeepers,
musicians,
artists,
poets,
Model UN representatives,
robotics members, and much more.
And we will go on to be educators who are singers,
musicians who are beekeepers,
mathematicians who are artists,
scientists who are poets,
doctors who are eurythmists.
We will become whomever we desire to become.
And it is, in part,
because of exactly how involved we've been here. Here we learned we can be anything, and all we had to do was be brave enough to dream it. Now, what we have said is true of any Steiner student, but I want to tell you something about my classmates. Each one of these students sitting before you has changed immensely in the 3 or 4 years that I have known them. I've seen every one of them when they were excited, when they were proud, when they were disappointed, when they were angry, when they haven't showered in a little too long and they're hiding it with Axe body spray. I have seen them succeed, I have seen them fail, and they have seen me do the same. And we see one another metamorph, and this gives us the opportunity to understand others, to make space for new ideas, new identities, and reconnect over and over again. My classmates have gone from the grubby caterpillars of 9th grade to these beautiful butterflies, ready to grace the world with their gifts. But that change was hard-earned, and it is ever evolving. Change comes from challenge, and no matter who you are, you will be challenged here, whether it be through one another or the curriculum. What we are exposed to is complex and diverse. The classes lead us through many topics which ultimately prepare us for the class trips, in one way or another. These trips are a culmination of the year's hard work and reflected immensely. So, let us tell you a little bit about them. It was the end of 9th grade, the last weeks of the school year, and everyone was antsy for freedom. The spring flower petals had fallen away and given way to early fruiting, and we pitched camp at the community farm of Ann Arbor. We spent our days doing farm work, everything from carpentry to weeding, touching electric fences for fun, and riding anything on wheels down hills. However, it wasn't until we were tasked with shoveling 10 years' worth of cow dung, tightly packed and trodden down into the winter stalls, that we became truly invested. We were going to clear out those stalls one way or another. So, we formed groups. Some of us madly ran wheelbarrows to the heap of manure outside, and others stubbornly chipped and shoveled away at the piles inside. Covered in sweat, manure, and straw, we worked until blisters formed and popped, and no one complained. We simply cheered one another on. I can still remember the laughter and the hollering. Don't give up! Just like 50 more wheelbarrows full! Keep pushing! It was more electrifying than those fences were, and we did it together.
We climbed the steep dune, the early June heat above us, and the cool breeze of Lake Michigan below us. We make it to the top, slowly but surely, and I am reminded that one of my favorite qualities of our class is our persistence. It was 10th grade, and we were on the survey trip to Camp Lookout in northern Michigan. During our time there, many of us perfected our technique in the game of tips, a game similar to volleyball, but more fun. Sorry, Ross. We spent a week in rustic cabins, our mornings busy with measuring and mapping, and our afternoons filled with soccer and strolls on the beach. Each partnership calculated measurements for a certain area, and when all the calculations were put together, a map of the camp was created. And in this way, we learned the value of learning an area inside out. In ecology this year, we discussed the symbiotic relationship between plants and humans. We breathe life into the natural world around us through our exhaled carbon dioxide, and in turn, the natural world breathes life into us through the conversion of carbon dioxide to oxygen through photosynthesis. So even though we left Camp Lookout behind, there is still a piece of us in that land, and a piece of that land in every one of us, one of the many gifts we will be leaving.
In 11th grade, our adventure for those early summer weeks was internships. This is an opportunity to explore something new to us, a future career path. a hobby, a budding interest, and to make it into an experience. We organized and planned our own internships by contacting the people we would work with and forming connections with a goal to learn, reflect, collaborate, and contribute creatively in a real-world setting. There was a wonderful, diverse set of personalities and interests in this class, and so the resulting internships were expansive, covering a wide variety of things. My classmates explored a multitude of areas in science, art, law, engineering, business, and environmental work. The stories and presentations after were inspiring, and whether the internship led to a new career interest or simply a new pastime activity, everyone came back with something to remember, something to share, and a new facet of their individuality which contributed to our class.
Like mycorrhizal fungi, a type of fungi that grows beneath the ground and connects plants across miles and miles of land, we came together with students from other Waldorf schools across our country for a zoology trip to Hermit Island, Maine. We got to know students from New York City, New Hampshire, Atlanta, Cincinnati, and Chicago as we explored tide pools and performed experiments in the large wood hut we knew as the Kelp Shed. We stayed a week, no phones, camping, making our own food, and living in the moment. One night, after a day of exploring and wrestling in the mud flats, we gathered in the Kelp Shed for an evening of contra dancing. Most of us had never been contra dancing, and some of us had never even heard of it. However, the Kelp Shed was warmly lit, there was a small band and a caller, and the water from the Atlantic kept a steady hum against the shore, keeping our troubles away. Whether you knew how to do-si-do or not, we all found partners and spent the evening dancing in that crowded room, the smell of salt water and the sound of the lobster boats on the bay blanketing the memory of that night. The Maine trip helped us start our senior year out feeling excited and supported by one another. Over the years, our class has been a tide pool of its own, a mismatch of people, all living and growing in the same space, sometimes in harmony and sometimes not, but we were together. As tradition goes, we ended our class trips with a visit to Italy, during which we were constantly learning about history, architecture, art, and the people who contributed to Italy's magnificence, whether we were in Venice, Florence, Rome, or the smaller cities of Orvieto or Lucca. In Venice, we sketched the quiet but busy streets, patiently waited in lines for gelato, and bought handmade jewelry in Murano. In Florence, our jaws dropped at the sight of David. We climbed 414 steps to the top of Giotto's bell tower and haggled for authentic Florence leather. In Rome, the incredible tour guide Francesca showed us exactly where Julius Caesar was killed, which is now a hangout spot for local stray cats, walked through ancient Roman ruins, and listened to musicians on the street play jazz in the park. Although we sometimes split up during the days, at meals we came together to talk about our separate experiences. Each place we went brought a new feel, and we were so lucky to get the chance to be exposed to such wonders. It was not only a trip to Italy, but a pilgrimage across history through the lens of our Waldorf education. I genuinely couldn't imagine a better class. We are able to joke with each other, address deep philosophical questions together, and connect with one another on a creative and collaborative level, as shown in our class mosaic. Our 4-year experience has certainly fostered a family-like connection, something most high school students don't get to walk away from graduation with. It will be so strange to not see my classmates every day, to no longer reflect on a class on our best moments throughout the years, including our record-breaking 53 pink slips in 9th grade.
To no longer hear the rambunctious laughter coming from the round table, as the guys like to call their lunch spot.
To no longer walk through the halls examining and adoring our beautiful artwork on the walls.
To no longer smell the delicious scent of a bake sale happening around the corner, our go-to fundraising technique.
To no longer go through another drama production, although they were sometimes challenging, always brought our class together, as did the class trips.
And the group discussions about Dante, astronomy, chemistry, ecology, or history of art.
But there is some comfort in knowing that these 4 years have shaped each and every one of us.
And we will carry them with us in our lives,
beyond these 4 years.
no matter where we may go.